Today I want to talk about the concept of how a market economy actually works from the perspective of an economist. Back when civilization began, people started specializing in their specific efforts to contribute to society. In other words, some people became hunters, some people became cooks, some people became seamstress, etc., so that everyone tended to serve in different functions within a village, which allowed it to operate. In order for that to happen, it was necessary to create a form of purchasing those goods or services made by the other peoples in their community. In other words, if somebody was really good at making weapons and made bows and arrows, but they didn't go out and hunt, then they would make a bow and various arrows and trade that to a hunter for a significant portion of beef. In that case, eventually evolved into how businesses are today in the free market. Instead of barter, we typically use money. So as consumers spend money to buy goods and services from firms, then the firms in turn tend to grow. In other words, that hunter finds that he has enough time on hand that he can get all the things he needs by hunting for 4 different families. So maybe he pays someone to provide him with meal or other foodstuffs, and someone else to make his moccasins or his clothes and that kind of thing, so that he's able to go out and make a living at just hunting. Over time, he may choose to, in fact, add another person or two to his hunting party, and that's how firms began. These firms, in turn, as they grow, hire people and they pay wages, profits, and rents. Now, these wages, profits, and rents are used to generate income for households. There are typically 3 types of households. There are people like you and I that work for a living and earn wages. There are other people that are owners of companies and they earn profits. And there are still others who own property and buildings and they rent their property and buildings to others. A given household could be one of the 3, 2 of the 3, or even all 3, depending on their efforts. In turn, these households use their income solely for the purchase of goods and services that they needed to survive. And so you can see this closed loop of how the economy operates. However, as income starts to increase to the households, they suddenly may find themselves with more money than they need to just merely survive and exist. And then this additional money, called discretionary income, is put into savings. Savings can be in various forms. It can be a piggy bank. It could be money that you put into a savings account. It could be the equity that you have in your home. And then with these savings, people can purchase investments, typically securities instruments that are sold through stock exchanges. For example, people can use their savings to purchase stocks, or they can use their money to purchase bonds or commodities or whatever investment that they choose to involve themselves into. Now, the investment community typically assembles all the money from people that are buying stock in a given company, and that money that is paid into them is then provided to the firms through the increase of the price of shares of their stock. And the firms use that additional capital to increase and improve their business. Another example is if companies are large enough, they may find that it's cheaper to go directly to the bond market, and raise a bond and raise money through the issuance of a bond than it is to go to a bank and borrow the money directly. And that's still an investment that still goes back to the firms and is used to increase their capacity. And so you can see the flow of money as it goes around this circle. It increases the size of firms, wages increase, households have enough money to buy everything they need. And it goes all over again. This time it's growing a little bit at a time, and they have discretionary income that goes into savings, which goes into investments, and goes back into the firms. So this is what an economy that is considered to be a free market economy actually is. You notice that on the right-hand side there is a box that says government, and I have not included it in the flow of things because government doesn't actually create the market. In fact, it can interfere with the market, but any interference that it makes, unless it's equal across the board, creates inequities that throw this whole concept of a free market off kilter. So, the less involvement that government has in the free market, then the better off everyone is, and the better and more easily the free market operates. Now, certainly the government has specific obligations that it has to its people, and that is to enforce minimal regulations and laws so that the conduct of businesses and employees and investment firms and banks and so on operate in a completely transparent, equitable, and legal manner. But other than that, they really should not have anything to do in terms of input into the general economy. This is Free Market Economy 101.